Hey guys, John and Chris here. Just stepped off the highway. You probably hear it in the background, and we're on our way into the woods. And today we're going to take on the role of lost hikers. So basically, we've left our homes with what we would normally have out for a day hike, basic, elements of comfort, and we're going to head out into the woods, and we're going to pretend that we're in a situation where we have to spend the night here, an unplanned night in the woods based on what we might have in our day packs. We'll go through the contents later, but I just wanted to give you a little insight into what we're doing. And we're going to basically take a leisurely walk up to where our campsite is, and we'll do some foraging for things we might need along the way, and I'll cue you in as we go. All right, thanks. We're settling into our little camp area here. It's clear, it has an old camp, people have camped here before. There's a little fire ring there. I've camped here myself in the past. But for the scenario, we're going to pretend like this is where we're settling for the night. It's a pretty good spot overall, considering if you look around. What I'm looking for is branches on the trees that don't have any leaves on them, and that would mean that they're deadfalls, and there's not too many around here, so it's a pretty good spot. It's pretty wide open, and if you also scan around, you'll see there's a lot of wood laying around, which is going to lend itself towards firewood or shelter. Right now it's probably about 90 degrees. We probably hiked in total maybe about 10 miles walking around, and we're both pretty spent, so we're going to get working on the shelter here. It's hot. It's supposed to go down to the 50s tonight, so it won't be too cold. So insulation is not going to be our priority with our shelter so much as just keeping anything wet off us, because there is a possibility of thunderstorms. So I'll key back in as we get set up. Christian's over there sorting out some of the edibles we collected on the way in, and I'm going to pan over to him and he's going to show you some of the things we got.
Hey guys, Christian here. Today we gathered a couple of plants, not anything more than an edible, but mostly for purposes of demonstration. Here we have some really big leaves from garlic mustard. Garlic mustard is an invasive species, and this leaf kind of looks a little violet-like, but it has a round toothed leaf, and they're very often smaller than this. These are really big, they get a lot of sun. It has a nice garlicky and mustard smell when you crush the leaf or break the stem. It has long seed pods, about this long, with little black seeds in them. You crunch those and they kind of have like a little bit of a horseradishy taste to them, actually. But these leaves you can eat.
Like a salad green.
Salad green. The little ones are going to be more tender, but these big ones looked good. We have a little bit of a wild garlic, a long, like singular type grass with like little like seedy heads, like a globe, like that big. Purple flowers on it when it's in flower. And this bulb, you break that and smell that. It's also very garlicky, different plant than the garlic mustard. We have here wood sorrel. Wood sorrel is a little
very common.
Yeah, you find this everywhere.
The Oxalis family, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. You have a little sort of clover-like leaf. Some people want to call clovers wood sorrel and wood sorrel clovers, but it's not clover. It has a heart-shaped leaf. 3. Has little yellow flowers on it. There are other varieties with pink flowers, but the yellow flower is very common. Kind of has like a lemonade-y taste. You just munch this raw. Very high in vitamin C. A little bit more garlic mustard. Over here, no foliage with this one. We pulled some sassafras. Nice, really fragrant root here that you clean off and make some tea. There's a couple samples of that. And here we have what's called poor man's pepper, which is another spicy little plant. You can chomp the seeds or the leaves, actually, but the seeds are very nice and flavorful, just a little bit spicy, but also extremely common. And last but not least, all of our supply here is a little bit wilted because we've been carrying it around for a while, but this is lamb's quarter. It's also pretty common. Very spinach-like. You can cook this up. Really pretty tasty. On the underside, it's normally like a whitish color, but this kind of got wilty, so it's a little harder to tell. And the leaves can get darker on the top. These are a little bit
It's very fragile,
young,
delicate, very delicate plant.
and these are young samples, so but it's a good green.
These were all found in the disturbed. These are all plants that grow in disturbed areas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I mean, there was just tons of this. Like, if we wanted to spend hours gathering, we could have probably gathered a big bundle of it. But we wanted to get some road under our feet. But this is just a brief sample. We're gonna maybe see what we can do with this in terms of eating later. We'll key back into you in a little while. So I just want to do a little blurb real quick on the contents of my pack. Just so you can see, this is the stuff that I would normally have, or stuff that anybody would probably have on a day hike. It's hot out. I got 2 Nalgene's of water, 2 32-ounce containers of water. Christian, in his bag, he's taking a little nap right now. He's got a Camelback bladder. He also has a water filter. So we did go through a lot of water, so probably end up filtering or boiling some later. So water's key. I also have a little stainless steel cup, which fits over the bottom of these Nalgene's there. That's something I would use to boil water, or drink out of coffee or something if I make that later. Got my little ration pack there. It's got about 2 days rations is what I would carry with me on a day hike. Got my trusty Mora knife, 1001 uses. This is what I carry with me every day. It's my pocket knife, my Victorinox Huntsman. A compass. I have a map of the area in one of my pockets, compass, and a headlamp with extra batteries, something that's always in my bag. A USGI poncho. I have about 15 feet of cordage, also paracord wrapped up somewhere inside there. And then I have, this is mostly just for emergency use, as a first aid kit, which is just in case somebody gets banged up. So basically we're out here, for in excess of 24 hours with these contents. This is my bag. Christian has some complimentary items in his bag. I believe he has a space blanket instead of a poncho. I already have that set up as the ground cloth for our shelter, so I'll show you that later in more detail. So it's basically this and some cordage. Alright, so here's our sort of makeshift shelter. We had kind of grandiose ideas of maybe doing a debris hut, but the day kind of got away from us. And during the day, it's cooler now. It was god awful hot earlier. So like I said, installation's not a big deal. We're just looking to kind of keep the rain off us. So just improvising what we had, our normal day hike equipment. I had my poncho, and Chris had that space blanket. So we used the space blanket as a base. And then we strung up this poncho using little bits of cord we had. Probably all tails told, this is probably, I don't know, maybe about 15 feet of cord used in this apparatus here. Basically it's just a poncho. The hood's been strung back so to give us a little extra room. And it's just got these really thin twigs holding it up. And we strung these twigs out. And you don't really need strong sticks to give you a good support. That's very sturdy. It's just the physics of it. It's pretty sturdy despite the fact that there's not huge beams holding it up. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in there during a tornado, but for most of the weather we deal with around here is this time of year, it's going to be fine, at least for the night. So I'm sure we're going to get eaten alive by bugs, but that's another story. So we're going to keep you posted as we go. Alright, so we got our shelter up. As you can see, it's starting to get dark out, so we're just getting ready. We're not going to light our fire yet. We're going to wait till, because we don't really need it for warmth. We're just going to use it to make some coffee later. So we're just going to, and it's nice to have a fire. So we got our little setup here. As we were walking, as I mentioned earlier, we were doing some foraging, picking up resources. We weren't just getting plants like we showed, we were also getting fire starting materials. And we have a couple of different things here. These are Phragmites heads, common reed heads, and they're dry. We had a bit of a dry spell. A little wetter now, but these are pretty dry, so they should take a spark really well. And this is what we call flash tinder. Flash tinder is something that'll take a light really well, but then it's going to burn up real quick. We have some punky wood here, which is also good. This will take an ember, and then you can blow it into a flame. And something I always look for when I'm out walking around in the woods is birch bark. And I found a dead limb laying on the ground, and this just comes off in sleeves, so I got a good bunch of this. Birch bark is invaluable because it has oils in it that'll burn even when it's wet. It's one of those things that just makes fire starting so much easier. So if you see it, even if you're not planning on camping, I always grab some, and then if I don't use it, I just leave it, or before I leave. So then we have our firewood stages. As always, I always light my fires this way. It's time consuming, but it's successful. And what I have is 2 handfuls of matchstick size kindling. Then I have 2 handfuls of pencil thick kindling, 2 handfuls of finger thick. Then I move up to like thumb thick, followed by wrist thick. And once you're up to wrist thick, after that you can pretty much burn anything you want. So if all goes well according to plan, later on when we light this fire, maybe we'll film it. This is going to take a spark. I'm going to use these birch bark strips to keep that flame going. Going to move on through the various stages of tinder, and we'll have a successful fire. The one thing I didn't show before when I showed the contents of my pack, I forgot because it's attached to my body. I'll show you right now. Whenever I'm in the woods, I have this as like a little carabiner survival kit. It's not full of too many bells and whistles. I'm not a bells and whistles kind of guy. It's very basic, but it has Swedish Army fire steel, which is a great source. This is probably going to be the way we start the fire tonight. It's got a P-less Fox 40 signal whistle. It's got a little LED, and this is a capsule full of homemade tinder. It's just cotton balls soaked with Vaseline, and that burns really well as well. But I always try to get the fires going with natural tinder as much as possible because it then prolongs the life of this in case of an emergency. Alright, so now we're going to head down to the lake. Alright, take one last swim before we settle down camp for the night. See you in a bit. Now the sun's setting in the evening of our semi-lost hiker scenario game, and it's beautiful out here. We just came down to this lake to fill our water bottles and to wash off some of the sweat from the day. Gonna be heading back up to camp soon, and gonna make a fire, cook up some of those greens we found, and try and eat. And we'll tune you back in a little bit. That's good. There's our yummy foraged vegetable soup. Christian's about to debut it. Yeah. Does it smell? Does it taste like it smells? Like warm, garlicky spice water?
Yeah, it really does. It does actually kind of have a nice taste.
Yeah, it's not bad, right?
Yeah.
Alright, very cool.
Surprising for something that has no salt.
Yeah, it could use a little salt, but overall not too bad. So there you have it. Poor man's pepper, garlic, mustard, lamb's quarter, and
pond water.
What? Pond water, and that's it. Alright, cool. Alright, so the exercise is over. We found a little bit of trail at the crest of the pond there, and we're going to take that back. And you know, the reality is we knew where we were the whole time, but we made it through the night. It's now approaching 11 o'clock. We got a long hike back down to the highway, and it was a lot of fun. It wasn't the most minimal camp I've ever done, but it was nice to, you know, you get used to things, step out of your comfort range a little bit and make sure you could do it. Obviously, if you're day hiking, it's always a good idea. I always pack everything I would need, and Christian does too if we were going to plan an unexpected night. But, you know, packing for an unexpected night in a day hike leaves you with a lot less comfort than you would if you were specifically going camping. So that's where we're at, and we made it through the night. Luckily, the weather cooperated. We had a good shelter to keep the rain off, but we didn't even need it. We probably could have spent the night under the stars, but, you know, better to be prepared, because if it did rain, it could have went south real fast. So everything worked out great. We couldn't be happier. So little last bit of picturesque view before we hit the road, and stay tuned. We'll see you next time.